What's going on, guys? My name is John with Games81.com, and welcome to my NEStalgiaholic show. This episode, we will be taking a closer look at the Top Secret Passwords Nintendo Player's Guide. This came out in 1992 as part of a subscription. As a subscriber for Nintendo Power, I got this in the mail. Every once in a while back in the day, Nintendo Power would release these special edition issues. What this is has top secrets and passwords for various games for all three systems they had at the time. So the Nintendo, Super Nintendo, and Game Boy. Since this came out in 1992, Super Nintendo was fairly new to the market, about a year. So there aren't too many games for the Super Nintendo in here, but there's a ton for the NES and Game Boy. So without any further ado, let's take a closer look. So here it is. This is the Top Secret Passwords Nintendo's Player Guide. And you get the Nintendo seal quality here in the corner. On the back, just some examples of some games. You got the NES, Super Nintendo, and Game Boy. The Super Nintendo had just been out for about a year or more, so it's still fairly new to the market. At this point, Nintendo has been out for about 7 years. Game Boy had been out for about 3 years. And some examples of games on the back. Let's open the cover here. You get the table of contents. These are different passwords for different games, stage select codes, the index. Here's different passwords. I love the days of passwords, right? Were for games, because a lot of the games, the reason they had passwords is because they had no save. So there's just passwords where you can go different various levels, whatnot. Addams Family, Adventures of Lulu or Lolo. It talks about the different developers. These color things, I think, are the different types of games, different genres. So this is, for example, an adventure game is kind of in turquoise. Red is puzzle game. Different categories. Adventures of Lolo 2. 3. Air Fortress. Bases Loaded. It talks about the publisher, developer. Bases Loaded is awesome. I love charging the mound. So look for pitching strengths. You can play as LA, DC, Boston, different things like that. These passwords would sometimes be level selects. They sometimes give you advantages in the game. Bases Loaded 2, Batman. Everything's alphabetical, as you've noticed. Battle of Olympus. Boxel for the Game Boy. I love this puzzle game for the Game Boy. Really underrated game for the Game Boy. I think there's a Boxel 2 that came out too, but Boxel 1 was a lot of fun. Bobble. Bucky O'Hare by Konami, a really fun platforming game. I love the series, comic book, etc. Kind of a Turtles ripoff, but the game is actually more like a Mega Man game. If you're like a fan of Mega Man, it's like Mega Man versions of Konami. It's their version of Mega Man, essentially. Borai Fighter Deluxe you got the one for the Nintendo, the one for the Game Boy. I always wondered how they did screenshots on the Game Boy. They must have special devices to do that. Casino Kid, Casino Kid 2. A ton of pages. Castlevania 2, Simon's Quest. One of the better Castlevania games, in my personal opinion. Here's Castlevania 2, Belmont's Revenge for the Game Boy. Super Castlevania 2. You do Stage 4, Stage 8, Stage A, Final Stage. Dick Tracy for the Game Boy. I believe it's about the same as the one for the NES. Kind of a difficult game. Dragon Strike. Really fun game. I like the TurboGrafx 16 version, but it's actually an arcade port. Gargoyle's Quest. Definitely must own for the Game Boy. So these different passwords. This is Boron Jarks Takes the Stick. The Gargoyle in Guardian Town, different things you can get. This is kind of a fun, like RPG meets like adventure game. They categorize it as adventure game, but there's RPG elements to it. It's actually a pretty fun game, really fun game. Gargoyle's Quest 2, the sequel for the NES. Again, a really fun game for the NES. It's kind of a spin-off of Ghouls and Ghosts, or Ghosts and Goblins by Capcom. G.I. Joe for the NES. G.I. Joe for the NES as well. So for not too many Super Nintendo games, because the system has just come out, Goonies 2. There never was a Goonies 1 for the NES. They did come out for on the Famicom and also the PlayChoice 10, but never ported to the NES. Gremlins 2. Guardian Legend, The Immortal. Really hard game. It's also categorized adventure. Iron Sword with Fabio on the cover. Kickle, Cubicle, I've never heard of that game, to be honest with you. Kid Icarus, definitely a game I've heard of. Cressy's Super Funhouse for the Super Nintendo. This is also ported on the Nintendo and Game Boy as well. Different passwords is Bartman gets you level 2, Smithers gets you level 3, Snowball level 4, Jebediah level 5, so just different level selects. Legacy of the Wizard. We're on 55 already, you can see how thick this thing is. Mystical Ninja, Legends of the Diamond, another baseball game for the NES, ton of them available. Lemmings, ported to pretty much every platform back in the day. Really fun and addicting game. Tricky level 5, you can different difficulty settings with these different passwords. Lemmings for the Super Nintendo. Little League Baseball by SNK. If you're a big fan of baseball stars, definitely this is a game to check out. It's not rare, but it's kind of uncommon, but it's a lot of fun. Lone Ranger. Magic of Schurheiser Blade. Looks like it's for the Game Boy. Or for the NES. I've never heard of this game. Let me know if you guys have heard of it. Mega Man, Dr. Willy's Revenge for the Game Boy. Cut Man Stage, Different Travels, Electman Stage, Iceman Stage. Mega Man 2, Different Stages. Mega Man 2 for the Game Boy. Mega Man 3 for the NES. Mega Man 4, the fun one. Metal Gear. Behind Enemy Lines, Building 1, Stage 3, different stage selects. And this is Metal Storm. Metroid. Mission Impossible. Paperboy 2. Pilot Wings. Believe it was one of the launch titles for the Super Nintendo. Really fun game. Different areas. These are always helpful because this game was really challenging, I felt, but love the parachuting. It's a lot of fun. Populous, Power Blade. Mike Tyson's Punch Out, different circuits you can get to. You can play Mr. Dream. At this point it was Mr. Dream. It was actually Mike Tyson back before they lost the license. River City Ransom. Power-Ups. Channel 5. Okay, you get MVP Baseball, another baseball game for the NES. Surprise, surprise. Silver Surfer. Snake's Revenge, Shoulder, Jetman. Solomon's Club, Star Trek for the NES. Star Trek for the Game Boy. Different levels. Strider. Great game, arcade port. Super Soccer for the Super Nintendo, Super Tennis for the Super Nintendo. Play different matchups, different passwords. Sword of Hope, Swords of Serpents, Sword and Serpents. Tecmo Bowl. Different things, teams you can play as. Tecmo Bowl for the Game Boy, Top Gear for the NES. Toxic Crusaders for the NES by Bandai. Different level selects. Ultimate Air Combat, Who Framed Roger Rabbit. LJN, that's not a bad deep game actually. Who Framed Roger Rabbit for the Game Boy, which is by Capcom. Different publisher, Willow. Never realized that Capcom did it for the Game Boy. Willow's a really fun adventure game. If you like Zelda, Adventure Zelda, check out Willow. Good movie too. Experience level 16. This actually gives you different experience levels, which is helpful. Definitely. Wing 2 Ace High, stage select codes. So these are different stage selects. I'm not sure what that was before, but there seem to be stage selects before. Not quite sure what the difference is between this, but Adventure Island. Super Adventure Island is really fun too. Kind of overlooked game. Battletoads, super hard. This will get you different level stages. If you get stuck on the stages, it's nice to have. Because some parts of that game are super challenging. Captain Skyhawk, Dragon Spirits for the Game Boy. Ghosts and Goblins, Super Ghosts and Goblins, really good port. Gunnak, Hunt for the Red October, Nintendo and Game Boy. Jackie Chan's Action Kung Fu, Knight Rider. Little Nemo, really fun Capcom game, really fun. One of my favorite Capcom games for the NES is Little Nemo. It's based on anime, Japanese anime, and it's just a lot of fun. You can transform different characters. It kind of reminds me of Kirby a little bit, but I like it a lot better. Operation C, Rad Racer 2 by Square. A lot of people don't realize, Square made more than just RPGs. Fun Final Fantasy Center, they made some racing games too. Different stage selects: Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, Rocketeer, both NES. Scat, Shadow the Ninja, Super Smash TV, really fun game, arcade port. It plays like Robotron in the arcades, 2014, really fun. Super Snow Brothers Jr., Super R-Type, Game Boy. Turtles 2, the arcade game, these different stage selects. Really co-op game, one of the best co-op games for the NES. Manhattan Project, same thing, published by Ultra, although it was Konami. Ultra was kind of a subsidiary of Konami. Vice Project Doom, Index. So this is kind of where you find your games, alphabetical and stuff like that. So pretty cool, helpful guide. Definitely check it out. You can get this really cheap, guys, like $4 or $5 or less. But super cool. Thanks for watching. Leave a comment. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know what games you liked on here. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for liking this video. If you guys want to follow me, you can follow me on Twitter at Games31. You can also follow me on Facebook, Games31 fan page. Also on Instagram under Games31 and my website, Games31.com. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you guys soon. Take care. Bye.